All right, really quick, we're live on Facebook right now. I'm here with my man Shay Smith, RHYMEFEST Academy Award winner, Golden Globe winner. What haven't you won?
Critics' Choice.
Critics' Choice, because I voted.
Jay voted for me to have a Critics' Choice Award.
Grammy winner.
Thanks,
Grammy winner.
Jay.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So we're going to be taping an interview for a package that's going to air on Fox here in Chicago right now, but we're also going to be live on Facebook, so feel free to tune in to our live conversation. And this is it. So actually, you and I just met, so they're going to sort of kind of be.
But it's like we go way back.
And we do. It feels like we go way back, to be real honest. All right. Can I call? Is it cool if I call you Shay?
Shay is fine.
All right. I was always taught growing up that rap, hip hop, R&B was the music of a revolution. I was wondering if that is the case, if that is true, and has that definition of revolution changed from the birth of rap and hip hop to today?
Well, I think when we talk about revolution, at one point that's what people call jazz. You know what I mean? At one point, that's what you may call rock and roll. You know what I mean? So I think revolution is anything that breaks down an old system and brings about change into a new system. Does hip-hop do that? In many ways, yes, it does, because it's something that young people without any money on the street, you know, whether they're getting a record deal or not, this is the way that they express the future they want to see. And so that's not just reform, that's revolutionizing how they live. And so is hip-hop revolution? Yes, it's a tool for revolution. It could be weaponized. It could be entertainment. You know, music, I think in general, is something that is in the hands of the person who's wielding it. And it's whatever you want it to be.
It's a powerful tool.
Music is a very powerful tool. At one point, you know, the Beatles was the music of revolution. Motown was the music of revolution. And now we've just evolved into hip-hop.
Being a Chicago artist, being here, you represented Chicago proudly. No matter where you've gone in the world, you've always come home. How is being a Chicago artist different than being an artist anywhere else in the world?
You know, Chicago is the house of house music. It's the home of the blues. You can go right downtown to Buddy Guy's. You know, Ramsey Lewis, famous jazz artist, is from Chicago. Curtis Mayfield. You know what I mean? Like Fallout Boy, you know, in Chicago, you know. So it's Lollapalooza, Chicago. This is the consciousness of music for the world. Like this is a blue collar town built on top of communities. You can't run Chicago from the top down. I think that's the problem some of our politicians are having, trying to run it from a top down perspective. Chicago is from a ground up type of place, right? And we come with hundreds of years of history of work and pride in various Irish communities, strong Irish communities, strong black communities, strong Italian communities, Greek, Jewish communities. And Chicago is the world. We're the world. Now, New York might be the financial capital of the world, but Chicago is the consciousness of the world.
I like that. I want to talk about, we walk through your house, and you see the Grammy, you see the Oscar, you see the Golden Globe, you see the Critics' Choice Award. This is such an uncertain business. At what point do you know that you've made it? When you're holding the Oscar, do you know that you've made it? When you're holding the Grammy, do you know that you've made it? Or do you yet still feel like you haven't made it?
You know that you've made it when you found your replacement, and when you've trained your replacement, and when you see your replacement carrying on the legacy of greatness. You know that you've made it when you come back to the community that raised you, and they accept you, and they're proud of you, and you can help rebuild that community and build other people from that place that you've grown from. Awards are inanimate objects, you know what I mean? A lot of people get awards and are forgotten about. How do you know that you've made it? You know that you've made it when you feel the satisfaction of your family embracing you and saying you have fulfilled the promise.
Whose replacement were you?
Who did I replace? I think that I walk in the shadow, in the footsteps of Curtis Mayfield, who's also from Chicago, who, when you look at his legacy, I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, I'm that in the alley. He was talking about the struggle of a community and you could see it in his life and in the way he played. You know, I would like to walk in the legacy of Gil Scott-Heron, you know, of the Last Poets. You know, I think if I could walk in the footsteps. I mean, when you look at what's the guy? He's on the Cook County. He's on the Cook County Commission. He was an old singer. I can't even think of his name now, but don't edit. But like, you know, I would like to walk in the footsteps of those people who were musicians, but also strong community members.
What is it going to take for someone to replace you one day when that day comes?
Training. You have to set, number one, you have to set an example. Number two, you have to have some type of success so that people can say, yeah, that's what we want to, you know, be. But we have a program where I teach creative writing to young people called Donda's House, which is named after Kanye's late mom, Dr. Donda West. And, you know, I directly, hands-on, teach young people. And it's not for them to be famous. It's for them to learn writing techniques, to learn the history of music. And I'm always trying to find my replacement.
Yeah. You made headlines recently when you tried to report an armed robbery, and you were treated by the CPD, as you described, disgustingly. What was that experience like? What was the experience of the aftermath like? And was there anything positive that came out of that? Was conversation had? You
know, life has a way of showing you, Jake, that it's not done with you yet. So when somebody puts a gun to your head and says, you're going to die today, give me all your money, what I felt sympathy in a way for this guy, because I'm thinking, it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and this is what you choose as a career path. I'm sure that if this guy could have done anything else or felt as though he was worth anything else, he would have been doing that. People don't just say, I got it, I'm going to be a robber. Like, you know, people are pushed to certain places because of their lack of opportunity in other areas, right? And then you go to report the crime, and then you feel like I'm getting robbed again of my tax dollars because they're like, get the hell out of here. We don't even want to. So you get 2 robberies in one day. But then the officer says, you know, we're desensitized to this stuff. We see that, you know, I got officers email me, I see hate and death every day. And then you realize, man, these officers are my neighbors. They're my friends. They're the people I ride motorcycles with. And who do they turn to? Where do they go to talk about they're not getting the psychological help they need. Everybody has these reform policies, and we're going to do de-escalation, and all this stuff sounds good, but these officers are human beings, man. And where do they go for solace? To just be a human being and not not RoboCop. You know what I mean? And so I realized that for the robber I have sympathy, and for the officer I have empathy. But man, I'm still a citizen. I'm still paying taxes. I still deserve a service. You know what I mean? And so one of the things when you talk about positive outcomes that I'm looking for, I have a bunch of smart people we're putting together, and including some of the good people from AARP, and we're trying to do a citywide therapy session. Because what I realize is that a lot of Chicagoans are traumatized. And it didn't just start with like the Rahm Emanuel or Mayor Daley. This goes way back. There's never been any reconciliation or healing for the trauma of just being a Chicagoan, period. Whether you're white, black, Arab, whatever. You know what I mean? This is one of the most segregated cities in the country, if not the most segregated. Dude, I've gone to Indianapolis and seen more integration than Chicago and Indiana. So what I'm saying is this city needs a reckoning, a healing. People need therapy, and we need, because we've normalized violence. We've normalized looking at each other as different, depending on if you're from the West Side. Hell, the Sox and the people in Wrigleyville don't even get along. So we need some type of one city moment. And so, you know, what I'm trying to do is a Truth and Reconciliation for Chicago day where we bring therapists. We bring citizens, we bring officers, people who have been abused by police, and we let people tell their story. Because in telling your story is healing.
Is that being...
It's being put together.
Yeah.
And we have some very smart people, very smart therapists, psychologists, that are helping put this together, and we're going to have more details on this mid-August. I'm sorry, mid-October. We're going to come out with our plan.
Please follow up, because we'd love to kind of follow up and hear what's going on with that. I'm sure you've seen in the news recently, whether we're talking recently within a month or a week or a year, but especially within the last 24 hours, the two police shootings of unarmed black men, I believe, in Charlotte and Tulsa. Becoming almost commonplace these days to hear this on the news. Any reaction to, if not the ones over the last year, just the one within the last 24 hours?
You know, I stay with the belief that your local politician and your local police officer is your employee. You are the employer. When we talk about these type of situations, we can't come at it from an oppressor-oppressee type thing. You have to come at it like our company, which is America, our city, our country, our company is headed in the wrong direction. And how do we get our company back on track? How do we get our employees, which are our politicians? They serve us. Those are civil servants. The police serve and protect. We as citizens have to come together and say what we would like to see. We have to be clear about the changes we would like to see made. It can't just be from a standpoint of stop. It can't just be from a standpoint of, it's us against you. We, again, police officers, many of them, are parts of our community. So how do we get our company, our community, back on the right track? And how do we help our servants to best serve community? That should be the prime directive. It can't be us against them. Again, many officers are under extreme trauma. Many of them may have PTSD and have a badge and a gun in escalated situations with mental trauma, which makes for even worse situations. How do we make sure that these officers have the therapy that they need? How do we remove the red tape and the barriers from citizens and officers and even politicians getting the help? How do we remove the stigma from it? I believe that we, as a country, we're going to have presidential debates next week. This is what we're looking for from our candidates, to tell the American people what the plan is for healing and becoming one country again, one community again, and not this community of us versus them. We have to break down this separation and segregation of who we are as human beings. I don't know if that answers your question, but at least for me, I can't come at it like us against the police or the police are against me. I have to come at it like the police work for me. And how do I have so much stake in this community that the police have to work for me and have to work with me as a community member? There are things that we have to do as a community to take care of our children, to take care of our nephews and our cousins. Think about it. Yes, police are killing people, but somebody hopped in my car the week before last and put a gun to my head that wasn't a police officer. So it's like in between a cop and a hard place. You have to, we as a community have to deal with ourselves, and we have to deal with the people who we have elected to serve us. And I think that it's a challenge, but it's not insurmountable.
Absolutely. Shifting gears for a second. So much.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. So much of your life, your career up to this point, based around the relationships that you've made up to this point. Is there one in particular that you think you would credit to being responsible for where you're at right now?
Decisions that I've made that I would credit for where am I at right now?
You're a successful man. You got
so?
Yeah. You don't?
Yeah. success is relative. You know what I mean? Success is how do you feel today?
Based off your gauge, then.
Well, we said when you came in and you said, "Oh, look at all these awards." I said, "Yeah, but that was yesterday." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like once you do an act, the act is done. You wake up the next day. What are you doing today? You know, the way I view success is, what did I do today? Not what did I do yesterday. What I did yesterday, man, oh, that was great. But I wake up and I'm still young. I still have strength. Yo, you gotta get out there and work every day. And so, but is there any? Yes, I made a decision to stay curious. I made a decision to always be considerate of other viewpoints. I made a decision to not stop evolving. And that decision, I think, leads me to new heights all the time. I like the commercial with the Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And I once asked Kenneth Cole, we were on his boat, man, and Kenneth Cole has this big boat, and we're in Martha's Vineyard, and we're like selling. And I said, man, how do you become the most interesting man in the world? Because I looked at Kenneth Cole as like a guy of amazing wealth and intrigue. And then I said, how do you become the most interesting man in the world? He said, stay interested in everything. So I believe that a continuation of curiosity and intrigue in everyone else just gives me the appearance of intelligence.
I mean, how can you be a good writer if you're not curious in other people and other things and other places and other events?
How can you be?
Yeah.
And look at the ones who were great, but then at some point said that they were great and really believed they were great and isolated themselves because they were great. And what happened to their works?
I mean, any kind of artist, filmmaker, songwriter, author.
Any kind of artist. Like the moment you stop being curious and the moment you stop being a student is the moment you stop being successful.
I hear that. You were very close with Kanye West, other local Chicagoan, for a long time. That relationship broke down recently. You sent a tweet about it that obviously with someone in your position, you tweet about somebody else that's going to be taken as a quote. Can you talk about that tweet that you sent out about Kanye? Can you talk about how that relationship has been since then? Have you heard from him? Have you talked to him?
No, I don't really, I don't really talk to Kanye anymore, so I don't really talk about him anymore, My thing is, I'm here. I'm in Chicago. I'm in the community. I just think sometimes people take different paths, and this is my path. And, I love teaching the young people. I think it's important that when I walk outside the door and a young man across the street walks outside the door and says, man, RHYMEFEST live across the street from me, he then knows what he can be, And that's my path. My path is that of just being what you see. And so, those are the type of people and the type of business I want to do.
When someone's telling your story one day and they're using different kind of adjectives to describe you, if one person at the end of the day says, hey, he was a Chicagoan, is that the ultimate compliment?
I like being a Chicagoan. I've never heard that before, but I think a pure Chicagoan is a hard-working, conscious person. And I think it's important to put hard working, right? I mean, not to down any other places, but we're not like the place with sunshine all the time and you wake up at 11 o'clock and you work until 2 o'clock and then you go home and have a nap and go back. Chicagoans work hard, man, and we have values. And I think that just through all this political corruption and if you can make it as a Chicagoan, you can make it anywhere. They say that about New York, but I really would apply that to Chicago. If you can make it through all of the boots and all of the traffic lights and all of the craziness and the schools and all that stuff, if you can make it through this, you ever meet a Chicagoan in L.A. or Chicagoan in New York and be like, wow, you're the head of such and such? Whoa. They're like, Yeah.
It's easy.
It's easy.
You gotta earn your spot here.
You can't be president unless you've come through the Midwest.
There you go.
In Chicago. And if you don't believe me, just ask the current president and the current presidential nominee.
There you go. There you go. We wouldn't be, obviously, so many things that I wanted to talk. I wanted to touch a wide range of topics.
Whatever you
want. Our experience, music, a little bit of everything. Equally important for the artists themselves?
Yeah, because the RHYMEFEST is, remember, everything we're talking about is intertwined and interconnected with community. And the RHYMEFEST is a festival that the Common Ground Foundation not only are you going to have Ice Cube performing, J. Cole, The Roots, The Weeknd. I mean, this is a great concert in itself. But what does the RHYMEFEST do that no other Chicago festival does? We include community, where we have young people performing on those same stages, where we have up-and-coming artists, and we give them opportunities. We have the city clerk that's going to be there registering people to vote. We're going to have all types of community tables where people can go get resources that they may need. Young people, older people. It's intergenerational. You know what I mean? There's no other festival in Chicago that blends community and mainstream the way RHYMEFEST does. And when you're talking about two artists like Common or myself, that we didn't make it to escape it. You know, all these rappers, man, I'm trying to get out the hood. Like, no. We're making it to rebuild it. We're making it to have a stake in it. That's what solves police brutality. That's what solves black-on-black crime. That's what solves many of the issues that we're going through, is when we stop having this brain drain. Chicago has had a brain drain of talent that has made, whether you're talking about rappers, athletes, lawyers, businessmen, that we make it through Chicago and we leave. When you see Common coming back doing this, when you see RHYMEFEST standing in the community saying, hey, Common, let's add a community component to it. Like, that's the Chicago way. And that's what's going to rebuild our communities. And it's the biggest thing. When the RHYMEFEST happens, it's the biggest thing in the city that day.
And when you see it, when there's a kid out there that comes out to RHYMEFEST, and they see you, and they see Common, and they're inspired to hopefully be as big as you guys are one day, you also want them to remember, like, hey, don't forget about the community. Don't forget about everybody else. Because
there has to be a CBE, a community benefit, a CBA, a community benefits agreement. You know what I mean? Like, there's no up-and-coming artist that I talk to that I don't ask them, okay, so what do you do past music? What do you do past visual arts? Because your art is only a commercial for your product. So, okay, I like your commercial. What's your product?
It's an honor chat with you, man.
Thanks,
I can talk to you all day. All right, we're still live on Facebook. All right, our first interview together. How'd I do? Our first time.
You did great, man. You did great.
That was a good
Jake.
conversation.
Yes, sir.
That was a damn good conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
Remember Jake and the Fat Man? No, you're too young to remember Jake and the Fat Man.
And you were thinking of Jerry Butler, the Iceman.
Yeah, why did you say that, man? Iceman, Jerry Butler.
I figured you would probably know.
Yeah,
all right, we're going to say bye to everybody on Facebook Live.
Peace.
All right, guys. We're out of here. We'll see you later.